So hello, I've been talking to the chairs of ABHI's member groups, and I'm joined today by Ian Duncalf from Braun, who leads the Patient Safety group. Ian, thanks for joining us today. We start as we always do with these because people are interested. Just tell us a little about yourself and your background, such that it's relevant to your leadership of this group.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. So I've been in the industry for roughly 20 years. First 8 years, I was carrying a bag as a sales rep for Big Pharma for the first 4 or 5 years of that, within sort of primary care GP selling. Then moved into hospital selling for both pharma and devices. I then moved over to Braun just over 10 years ago, where I moved into product management, and then I've progressed through product management channels and management channels to be where I am today. So I head up the pharmaceutical business unit and the anaesthetic devices business unit within Braun.
Great, thanks, Ian. A well-trodden route. Many of us have been down that path.
Absolutely, yeah.
For the years. So the patient safety group, well, patient safety is one of those things, isn't it? It sort of doesn't fit anywhere specifically, but of course it fits absolutely everywhere. So maybe tell us a little bit about the work of the group at the moment, who's involved, and some of the stuff that you've done you've done recently.
Yeah, pretty relevant introduction, actually. I think I'll probably start by saying and reiterating what you've said, is that patient safety is such a broad church, and it has synergies with many of the other working groups. It's probably arguably the hardest part of this group is not actually finding work streams, but knowing which work streams to focus on. We've got huge ambitions for this group moving forward, which I'll probably touch upon, or certainly will touch upon in a few moments. Before I really get started on the group, I just want to say a real big thank you to Judith and yourself, Richard, for the help and support in this group and keeping me and the rest of the group on the straight and narrow. But yeah, patient safety, I think, is probably the most important part of the patient treatment pathway for both in the eyes of the clinical and support staff treating the patients and us as industry. From the work we've done in the working groups, it is really clear to see that patient safety is an incredibly emotive topic, and one that clearly motivates our members. The importance of patient safety across the industry and the multiple touch points it has along patient pathways. And what I really mean by that is, we have technology and we can really help with things like workflow efficiency, optimal value and innovation through diagnostics, reducing medication errors, minimizing variation within drug preparation, minimizing complications with automated administration, and optimizing value and experience, and really increasing the effective outcome in discharges. So the real purpose of the group, I suppose, is highlighting to the relevant stakeholders the impact and the benefit of the role of the ABHI and its member companies, and what the increases, or the increase in patient safety through the adoption of technology and, I suppose, safer products, for whether you can say that. And the technologies draw on core patient safety touchpoints across life-critical pathways. And I think you touched upon it at the start, is that it's such a broad topic, and I think that's represented in who is part of the working group. So we have really strong representation from different organisations and different segments within the healthcare industry. So we've got really strong representation from companies like Medtronic, BD, Stryker, Avanos, Edwards, Tunstall, and then where I earn my living, Braun.
That's great. I mean, captures the breadth of it. And tell us a bit about the work you've done so far. I mean, there was a paper I think you did a few years ago on the behavioural side of it, which was really kind of interesting. I think that gave the group a bit of a springboard, didn't it, to look at some other stuff? Yeah,
it was a big piece of work. I think we're all very proud of what we created, and it was a real focus for probably about 18 months, really, but significant piece of work for about 12 months. And so as a working group, we published a white paper in roughly about 2019, and it was on optimizing patient safety through behavioral modification. And it went down incredibly well. We focused on things like antimicrobial resistance, pressure ulcers, falls and hospital bed injuries, reduction of medication errors, and hospital-acquired infections. And yet we launched it at the patient safety event, and we opened up a huge amount of dialogue with the marketplace and with the industry. It was, I was very proud to be part of it.
That's great. And then there was something else you did recently, which I think would be really interesting for other groups to learn from. I know we featured it in a spotlight. Judith did a great write-up on it.
Yeah.
But we did an external event with external facilitators using our friends at UCL Partners, AHSN. Tell us a bit about how that one went, Ian.
Yeah, really good day. It was in start of January, middle of January this year. So we had a patient safety workshop, and it was hosted by a UCL Partners, chaired by Susie Al Hassan, and it was attended by our members, but also industry colleagues, so chief innovation officers, improvement directors, and senior patient safety experts. The intention was to sort of cover an alignment between both those groups of people along the lines of the republished patient safety strategy, the NHS operations and innovation strategy, as well as clinical and on-ground insight. And we had some really interesting discussions in all those areas, really. I think the key takeaways for me were around that we need to really uncover and find out more about the patient safety specialists and their roles and their remits. We need to explore potential for product wraparound support, sort of post-adoption. What I mean by that is it's like in the context of behavior and cultural change, not just necessarily the product change, and what is really required there for a swift and effective implementation and utility. We really need to get better understanding, both ourselves and the NHS and all the stakeholders, around a better understanding around ineffective healthcare and what that looks like, and using real world evidence and usability testing. And then we really need to understand how we support and improve care quality and outcomes, and how we can help prevent and increase action around health inequalities. We also, after the day or towards the end of the day, we mapped what we had, where we can help, how we can help in the remit of this scope and the scope of this group. And we mapped it with impact and effort and influences versus priority. And it was a very useful day, and it was totally enjoyable by all the people that attended.
It's great. What I found from it, I thought we got reach into elements within the NHS that we probably wouldn't have got to off our own bat. So you mentioned you had a chief innovation officer from the Royal Free there who's become a real ally and a real partner, who's helping us with some other work as well. So I think really good solid learning for other groups as well. So Ian, just finally, what might we expect to see from the group in the months and years ahead?
Yeah, so excuse me, we need to build upon that session and that meeting, and I think we've got some fairly clear direction moving forwards. But one of the next key action really is, along with yourself, I believe, next week we're meeting Dr. Aidan Fowler, who's the National Director for Patient Safety in England and also a Deputy Chief Medical Officer at the HSC, just to really understand, again, how we can forge an alignment between his wants and needs for patient safety moving forwards and ours as an industry, both for the ABHI and our member companies.
Ian, that's great. It's been fascinating to talk to you. So we're recording this right at the beginning of April 2022. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that the meeting with Aidan Fowler goes well next week, and then it'll be great to have you back at some point in the future to see how this group's progressing. But thanks as always for your energy and your leadership in it, and fascinating work, really is.
Thanks, Richard.